What's the word? What's the word?
I liked it so much, I thought I'd play it twice. Ladies and gentlemen, the bees of boxing. The bees of boxing, if you will. Or in this case this week, maybe it is the BS of boxing. Who knows? Because, first of all, my name is Chris, if you haven't figured it out by now. And that, of course, over there is the man with the master plan, Steve Swift. Steve, how you doing this week, brother?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm about to embark on another holiday. So that will be very nice for me. I'm doing fine. I've been at a rock festival, not Black Sabbath, no,
Okay.
but I've been at another rock festival, keeping it real on the groundswell of metal.
Oh, well, you know what? That is the important part because everybody loves the story, the I knew them when story. And it happens in metal and hard rock more often than any other. And it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. But
Yes, you're right.
let's talk about some stuff that maybe wasn't fantastic this past weekend. Let me get your opinion on this one first and foremost, because we did see a fight a fight adjacent, I'm going to say, as it were, that got His Excellency Turki al-Sheikh sending out a tweet saying, this is not a Tom and Jerry fight. This is a Jerry versus Jerry fight. I'm not watching this boxing. And we know what fight he was talking about, right?
Yes, but the Cattrall and Harlem Eubank fight was boxing. You know, we beg to differ on this one, myself and His Excellency, because as I've said on this excellent podcast before, you can have an absorbing fight. And before it was stopped through one very nasty cut and another cut in the just approaching the seventh, well, just into the seventh, wasn't it? 1 second into the seventh, I think. That was it was a really good boxing match, but I don't understand it because, well, I do, because there's the boxing of boxing and the legacy and all of that, and I love my fights, and there's the business of boxing, which is, oh, well, we need to sell tickets, and to do that, we need to have some really good action. It was a great boxing fight. How do you feel about it?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was comical, and I'm surprised that cut didn't happen sooner in the fight. I've never been a big fan of the clown style of boxing where you're kind of like all over the place. Look at me bobbing in and out, jumping forward, lunging and everything like that Harlem Eubank employed in this match. I do appreciate it if you're ahead in a fight, not to start the thing off. I thought it was, I was like, what is going on right here, right now? This is wild.
Well, I agree with you that it is extraordinary, explosive situation, which Harlem Eubank didn't seem able to control. But I thought that was born of frustration, that Cattrall was smoother and in and out, and really he didn't have very much. And I thought that he thought, I need to do something here, and so that in and out and that sudden explosion that that Cattrall saw coming for miles was something that he felt he had to do to please the judges.
You know what it reminded me of? You know, when you watch those videos of like 201 200 Street Fighter goes into boxing gym and challenges so and so. This is what it reminds. This is Charlie Zelenoff shit. Is what this was and what it looked like to me, right? The good old Charlie Z trying to get his 3,000-0 record over. That's what it kind of reminded me of. And I can understand from that point from that point, looking at it that way, why His Excellency would say this is a Jerry versus Jerry fight. Now, Catterall, you could tell, was frustrating the hell out of him. Catterall's been in there with much better talent. He's seen much higher opponent, much better skills, and he is a much more plant your feet, let's fight, let's box. I think a lot of that fight itself was probably sold off of the tail end of what we already saw from somebody else with the last name Eubank. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yes, I mean, when I saw Jack Catterall be fighting Harlem Eubank, I thought, right, I'm not quite sure.
What you thought was, oh right, Harlem Eubank is a boxer.
Yeah.
That's what you thought when you first saw it.
I just thought, to quote the Smiths, you just haven't earned it yet, baby. I just thought that. And you're right. I thought, well, way to get some business of boxing stuff in. There is another Eubank, folks. I don't think that Harlem Eubank will have got. I don't think the plan went to plan, because even if he lost, if he'd have got it, and I think he would have done anyway, I don't think it was stopped because of the cut. And I think he did okay in the 5th round. But I don't think going forward, even if they hadn't stopped it, I don't think that he would have prevailed. I can't see that happening. And what he needed to do was get close to Catterall, even if he lost, so that you can say, well, he can continue this family name then. By the way, it's spreading because Jack Catterall did some Gervonta Davis shit in that fight. And the referee allowed him to do it again, although he was pretty peeved, wasn't he? Don't get your face wiped, son. You come to me.
Is this become a thing now in boxing?
I think it has.
You know what I mean? And then you have to ask yourself, if this is becoming a thing, which fighters are going to be able to get away with it? Because I'm telling you right now, anybody on the undercard would have been, what are you doing? Right. So we're giving a little bit of leniency to the bigger stars in boxing. Okay, cool. I understand that. Fine. I'm a firm believer that if I move to a country where corruption is abundant, I at least want to know that it's available to me as well. And this is what I'm seeing here. Because if I know that, like, we're going to allow the bigger stars to walk over to their corner whenever they want and get wiped out, what else are we letting them get away with as a referee?
Yeah, we spoke about it. I called it. I said exactly what you just said. Clearly, people are watching. I'm not saying that Jackie Baby was watching this and thought, I'll have a go at that. Tidster and Swifty think it's all right. So why don't we have a go at that? I mean, the ref could have stopped it earlier. The cut man did a very good job in closing it up, but you could see it was going to open again. It was the right thing to do, but I thought it was a really good example of boxing. And this is the example that I used the other week, which is you never know what's going to happen in there. I mean, Harlem Eubank might have come in and made the more experienced fighter look like an inexperienced journeyman and have beaten him all ends up. But you never know. And Jack Catterall was just the better man on the night. He was much better. And you can't always say that. I suppose in this one, you could say how foolish to do that, but to put somebody with less experience and with that name and all of that. But really, it's what fights are based on, isn't it? This guy's got no hope. Oh, and he's won. That's what, the Hail Mary stuff is what boxing is often based on. So I don't know how you can police this, but, Turki Al-Sheikh can say all those things as much as he likes about fights he's not concerned with and doesn't have a hand in, and fights that he does actually. But the more he says it, the more we talk about it, and the more influence he gets.
Well, and I mean, it's going to happen that way. Ring Magazine apparently has just struck a deal with CompuBox, so they're putting things in place. Ring is putting things in place, like we said, like we called. Remember I said that we're going to be sitting here and looking at a picture where there's a table and it's got His Excellency, Dana White, Ben Shalom, and Jake Paul all sitting at the table together. Now, there might be some other names there or whatever, but I think that those four are going to be the thing. So Turkey Al-Sheikh is doing exactly what he needs to do. Get the pieces in place to make you that much more legitimate, and then just take over.
And let me also add, I take your point, and let me also add something which might have slipped by you, but didn't, because I podcasted about it on the excellent Steve Swiss Rambling Reviews. When he announced that Tyson Fury was going to come out of retirement and said, and then Tyson Fury, yes, and then Tyson Fury said, we're going to do that on April the 18th next year. I'm not quite sure that the Usyk, who are the champions, remember, the Usyk camp had said we've agreed to that. However, Turkey Al-Sheikh said he'll be back. We have a rabbit to hunt. Now, we know that that's one of the nicknames for Usyk that Tyson Fury's got, but it's the use of the word we. So hang on, when you say that, it looks like you are aligning yourself. I'm sure this is not the case, Tidster. I'm sure, I want to put this out there. I'm sure this is not the case. It just sounded like we, and announcing it for the challenger rather than the champion, that's a bit unusual, is it not?
I see what you're saying. I also, if you ever scroll through His Excellency's Twitter account, he's a very tongue-in-cheek motherfucker, man. He is a funny dude. Low key, very low key funny, right? So you gotta kind of pick up on what his vibe is a little bit. And I get the rabbit thing. And I don't know, was we have a rabbit to hunt? Was it a line from a movie? From the movie that we're talking about? I don't know. I'd have to go back and research and do journalist shit, and I don't feel like doing that kind of stuff. I leave that to the professionals. I just talk garbage. That's it. But I see your point right there, because you cannot have an alignment unless he's pushing, Eddie out of the picture and he's becoming Tyson Fury's promoter. Then I see it, because that is the job of the promoter. Eddie Hearn should have been the one saying, we've got a rabbit to hunt, right? And Usyk his camp did respond to this by saying, we're going to worry about this Dubois kid again, and we're going to take care of that fight, and then whatever, we'll talk afterwards. Is Usyk even going to be around at this time next year? Not a chance. No. You've got more of a chance of putting Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul together before you put together, Fury and Usyk 3.
Yes, I take your point absolutely, because you're quite right about His Excellency. He is a tongue-in-cheek gentleman, and his X feed, not Twitter, that name change is not really taken, has it? No. Anyway, it's great to hear, and generally I really enjoy what he's doing. However, I don't know whether I'm just running at something here, but I've just podcasted about something which came up on my feed, which is something from Ring Magazine, and it is Tyson Fury saying, Deontay Wilder's comeback, I feel sad for him. Now, taking away the idea of, well, he lost twice recently, Deontay. Didn't you lose twice, Tyson? Oh, you did. Taking that away, putting that kind of, the Ring Magazine is supposed to be the Bible, isn't it? So, to do that, I'd have to go back, and you're right, I'm not a journalist. I'm just spouting my own opinions here. But I'd need to go back and check if they've done this with many others. But really, to report that, I just felt I needed to mention it. Yeah. So you're right. It's all the pieces are in play, aren't they? And as we've said many times, I don't know, and we don't know what's going to happen next. But generally, it's what we say will happen.
Here's my opinion of Tyson Fury and this entire thing and the way that it's playing out right now. It's not a rabbit that he wants to chase. It's a bag. That's what he's chasing. Because if you really think about it from a boxing point of view, let's talk about this from a boxing point of view, and you really want to come back to boxing, fight Moses. Fight some of these young guys that are up and coming that are going to be the next. Fight Dubois. Fight him. But your choices out there are Anthony Joshua, which is the golden goose that has never come to fruition for you. Deontay Wilder, who's made a comeback, and you put his name in your mouth, so maybe that's out there for you, but nobody wants to see that because it's already happened. Or Usyk, that you've already fought and lost to twice. So why are you so interested in coming back to boxing unless it's for the money? Because it's for the boxing of it, and it's to build your legacy, and it's to do all of these great things on paper. You fight the young kids. So Tyson, shut the fuck up. Go back to the pub, have a beer, have a pint, have two. You're a big boy. You can handle it. Don't drive. And just enjoy your life, man. Enjoy your life. Sometimes it happens. The business has to move on. The sport has to move on, right? And let it move on. Just let it move on.
He did say, yes, but he did say that people are still talking about him, and they are, and we are. And that's the business of boxing. So
we talk about him because he keeps bringing his fucking name up all the time. And I don't know if he understands how time works, but if he's saying now, oh, I'm going to be ready to go a year from now, 6, 7, 8 to 12 months from now, does he think he's Benjamin Buttons? Is he going to age backwards? He gets older as well. He's not going to have the same skills that he did. You know what I mean? And eventually what are we watching then? We're watching Apollo Creed and Rocky, go at it when they weren't even like boxing anymore, just two old guys. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? And this is the problem. This is why people can't get behind boxing, because we have stuff like this happens that takes over things like we talked about before with these young fighters, these the Shakur Stevensons of the world, right? The Boots Ennises of the world, the Brian Norman Juniors of the world. This is where the sport is going. We don't want to talk about Tyson Fury trying to relive some glory day because he feels that he slipped on a banana peel. Piss off.
Yes, he felt, as he's bound to, that he won both of those fights. Well, there's a thing called a decision, and you didn't get either of them. And the second fight was incontrovertible. The first fight, he could have let it slip. Second fight, incontrovertible. Outboxed, outthought, outboxed.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if this did happen, and Tidstick, it probably will. Because that's the sadness of the whole thing. If we're talking about sadness, it's sad that Tyson Fury's coming back, and that there's a possibility of that. If he fights Usyk or if he fights AJ, what's the bigger fight, pay-per-view wise? Do you think?
AJ.
You're probably right.
AJ's the bigger fight because it's the one that keeps getting away. It's and we've already seen the outcome twice. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You're not getting a chance to fool me a third time, right? Sorry, that's not happening. So AJ is definitely the bigger fight. And in England, both of those guys, we see how AJ himself sells out an arena regardless of the outcome, right? So that's money, right?
Yeah, it's a swan song fight, isn't it? Probably for both of them now.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey. I don't want to see it in any way, shape, or form because actually I want a reason for a fight apart from money. And there's no reason for this fight.
Okay.
But will I watch it? Yes, I'm there for it all the time because I suspect that AJ will get really knocked out badly and that will force him to retire.
So you say a reason for a fight, Steve. Let me ask you about this then, because this coming up weekend, we do have a really good weekend of fights coming up. An entire card on Friday that I haven't seen any promotion for this thing outside, unless you know where to look, right? And if you look at this card top to bottom, I mean, the fights itself, the skill level itself, the way that this was matched up itself was done very well. But the promoter of this thing, I mean, he just got done fighting in a bullshit fight a couple of weeks ago. Yes, Jake Paul, don't sue me. I'm talking about you. Should you have been promoting your girls that you've put together this entire thing around Or should you have been worried about pulling a Home Depot stunt where you hire the Mexican to come in and do the job and then call immigration on him so that he's got to get picked up? Jake Paul, don't sue me.
We're not saying Jake Paul made a phone call. We're not saying that. I'm not saying that. You're not saying that. We're
No.
not saying that. Hello? Is that ice? No, we're not saying that.
Side story. That is a real news story that happened back in the day in Las Vegas. Happens all the time. You hire the illegals to come and do the work, and then the day before you have to pay them, you call immigration to come to the work site to pick them all up. These are horrible human beings that we're talking about that do this kind of stuff, but it's a fact. It is an actual fact that has happened. And so when this happened, it was like, oh my God, this is a born in East LA moment. You know, we're just going to go down for my family's wedding and just get picked up and hop on the bus and go back. No,
We're not saying that.
oh.
But I take your point. There are two things, actually. The first thing is that, yes, I believe that Jake Paul's been wrapped up in himself and he puts together great cards. When I say he puts together great cards, let me talk about that in a minute, because he puts together, as we said, cards that you like. It's great that this is an all-female boxing card. That's great. And he should have been promoting the hell out of this, but unfortunately, I don't know what his organization is like, but it does appear that he's one man. He's not, but because he's leading that, it does appear that way. So maybe he should have delegated it to some people.
Well,
And
he
the
should have
other thing,
delegated it to us. That's what he should have done, Steve, because I'm going to tell you right now, I looked down this card on Friday. I'm watching the hell out of this. And anybody who knows me knows that I am not a huge proponent of female combat sports, pro wrestling, MMA, boxing, any of this stuff, because, you know, probably because of the fear of some of these women being able to tune my ass up. That's the reality of it. And I feel a little emasculated from it, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I'll ask my therapist next time I see them. But at the end of the day, this card, Steve, if you've run down this card being headlined by Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, 3. Now, here's a 3 fight that I will watch before I watch Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk 3, because these two women gave us 2 bangers of fights prior. Unbelievable by both of them, right? Now, let's hope that this one doesn't have another one of these. It's you. I've just realized it's you sneaky effing Brits in your headbutts. That's what happens here. You sneaky dogs, you.
we've always been able to use our heads, being such a small island that's dominated the world for many, many years. I just want to go back a little bit to the phrase "tune my ass up," which I will. I mean, I've never heard that before, and I'll be using it quite a lot going forward in common parlance.
There you
I
go.
would say. So thank you for that. That's the only thing I've got from the work with you over the past few months. And the second thing, not really. And the second thing is, it is, yes, I'll be watching this because it's a great card, but I just wonder, when we talk about, because we talked a few weeks ago about the female boxing world, not really, it's still being quite new. And all of those people, Baumgartner, and, you know, of course, we've got the main event, but Baumgartner, Ellie Scottney, and the rest, and Chris Shields are there. But then you say, and they're fighting, and we might know, but you might know those names, but you might not know their opponents so well. Perhaps that's the issue. So, you know, you're saying, well, all of those big stars are there, but they're not fighting each other. So I'm kind of wondering whether or not I should bother. That's not Jake Paul's problem.
Right.
That's an early fight issue problem. But the card he's put together is fabulous. And we've said this many times, haven't we? Superb card putter togetherer, but not a great promoter in this case.
And, well, I mean, or did he decide that maybe I don't have to as much because it's already on Netflix? Netflix is picking this up. But if I'm running down this card, Steve, and if I mean, yes, we've got Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano at the top. You've got Alicia Baumgartner and Jennifer Miranda fighting in the co-main. That in my opinion, that is nothing more than take a look at Alicia Baumgartner. That's exactly what this fight is. But if you're asking me right now which fight I'm most interested in on this entire card, It's the Savannah Marshall, Shadasha Green fight. Because these two women, are you ready for this? These two women. So Savannah Marshall has already fought the bigger opponents, right? The better she's got one loss, and that's against the best in the world, Clarissa Shields. Unbelievable. Combined, both of these women have over a 70% knockout rate. So this is going to be a fight where these girls get after it. Sorry, these ladies get after it. And that is what I'm looking for in boxing, because I don't want to end up with the oh, we need to make the ring smaller, or oh, we need to do that. No, these, let them fight, let them bang. And this card has been overlooked so much. And to a lesser extent, even the next night, Steve, Saturday's card has been overlooked quite a bit. Now, not by us, because we're talking about it all the time, right? But I don't think that Edgar Berlanga has done a good enough job in his own home city of promoting this the way that they thought he was going to be able to.
He's worried now, and I read a report this morning that says that, Hamza Shiraz is not doing the amount of work that he should. It was reported he's stone-faced, and yes, that's a possibility. And others on the card were also dobbed in that way. But Berlanga's got to be concerned, because if you can't fill that space and you can't make those pay-per-view buys in your home city,
right,
then you're not the fighter we thought you were for the business of boxing. Now, my concern is, and I've said this many times, haven't I? I'm excited for it because I love to be at the moment where a boxer either spreads his wings and flourishes or crumbles. And I suspect that Hamza Shiraz is crumbling already, and it's getting to him.
Interesting. Do you think that has something to do with the fact that the buzz is already talking about, if Shiraz has a good outing, he could be fighting Canelo?
Yeah,
that's a big words to put into a young guy's head, right?
Yeah, and it's make or break for him, isn't it? Because what they're saying is, it will have sailed. It will have left the station. If you aren't doing well here, it will have left the station. And they are already saying last call, because before he gets in the ring, and he may be superb and turn it all round. He may beat Berlanga to a pulp or outbox him hugely, and then maybe Turkey Al-Sheikh will say, oh, it's a Tom and Jerry fight. But maybe, or maybe not, because he's a lovely bloke and quite right too. Maybe he will turn it round, but it's all people are already saying, look, there's something wrong here, mate. And it's not just about boxing. The business of boxing comes in as well. If you're not promoting a fight well enough, and you are clamming up, because that seems to be what you're doing, then Dillian White did this to a certain extent, but he did it really well with the Tyson Fury fight. He wouldn't come to the press conference, but he got loads of column inches, because that was and it threw Tyson Fury off somewhat. But if you're there and you're not talking, that's a massive issue. A bit like Wilder with Fury on their last fight. So I think people are already thinking that Hamza Shiraz isn't fit for those big fights, because it's about the talk. And unless something happens that's extraordinary, he might have already lost outside the ring.
It's weird that we are putting that much pressure on him for this fight, because realistically, the bigger fight, the bigger consequences on this card is really Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda. That's the fight that should be should be carrying this card, right? But it's not, it seems like. But this is also the fight that we have said, and even His Excellency has now said, maybe this ring needs to get smaller. But you can't just keep changing out rings, and you can't have Shiraz fighting in a ring that's 16 by 16. Here's my suggestion, Steve. You ready for this one? Ready? Here's what I say. Start off with a 20 by 20 ring. Give him a chance. Give Shakur Stevenson a chance. But this 20 by 20 ring, if we see that the scores and they're not working out so well, by the third round, now it shrinks to an 18 by 18. and you go a couple more rounds and you see if it happens. And if that doesn't work, it shrinks down to a 16 by 16 by round 7, right? If that by the 10th round, you got these guys fighting in that proverbial phone booth that we've talked about, right?
Michael Buffer on a big crank. Buffer, get the crank.
That's what I'm saying. Is this what we're going for here? You know, we're literally 2 steps away from the freaking Thunderdome, Steve.
I think that's extraordinary. And Shakur Stevenson is on his last warning, isn't he?
Yeah.
And, I was just going to say that he's been given a lot of opportunities, hasn't he? And there's no certainty that he will prevail over Lamont Roach. And I personally don't think he will. I'm calling it, folks. I don't think he will. I think that Lamont Roach has got. I think he's got his number, and I think that's it. Unless Stevenson goes, oh sod it, I need to do something. Let's go for it. I don't think he can do that now.
You mean William Zepeda? Lamont Roach is fighting Gervonta Davis later on.
Oh, for God's sake, Zepeda, yeah. I think Zepeda's got his number. I think that he doesn't. I don't think he can get up for it. I think that once you do that, once you say, oh, I can just coast, then you're in a little bit of trouble, aren't you?
Well, I don't think he's never been hit this way. I don't think we've ever seen like that. And this is what we're going to have to find out, because William Zepeda is a guy who hits very, very, very hard. Now, not hard enough to put Tevin Farmer down, because we saw what Brian Norman Jr. did in that situation. So, I mean, boxing math sometimes doesn't play out. So Shakur Stevenson is going to have to get inside of that firing point and see if he can handle getting hit by William Zepeda. I agree with you. I don't think he can.
Don't you mean Floyd Jr.? Schofield Jr.
Yes. Names out here all over. Listen, it's a Vargas. There, it's a Vargas.
You see, the thing is that some people get lucky, don't they? And in a way, Shakur Stevenson's got lucky because people are still saying, well, he's the man, even when he's not showing as he is. Hamza Shiraz, if he doesn't come through here, that's it. I don't believe that nobody will say, get another chance, son. I don't think so. But I think with Shakur Stevenson, this is it. He's had a few chances, and I don't believe, I mean, his defense needs to be superb. He won't want to get hit. We could see, as His Excellency says, a Tom and Jerry fight on this one. We could see Zepeda getting frustrated and Stevenson just feet don't fail me now. We could see that.
Excellent album, by the way, by Little Feat. I got to tell you right now, listen, it seems like on this card to me, all of the heat seems to be on Shakur Stevenson, because even in that fight with Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz, even if Shiraz, I think that fight is set up to promote Shiraz. Because I don't think that even if he loses that, yeah, you're right, that really puts a damper in the plans. But if Berlanga wins that fight, I don't think that does anything for him. I still don't care if he gets a title shot. You know what I mean? Who are you going to put him in there with? Okay, he's going to get beat by them, right? Whoever it is. I just don't. I think that, and maybe he understands that he is that, proverbial stepping stone for Shiraz. And that's why this act is coming out. And maybe Shiraz is just keeping his mouth shut, because he knows that if he ends up being the blowhard like Berlanga and loses, well, that's even worse for his brand. Right?
Yes, real frustration from Berlanga, who's the A side. So yes, you're right. Real frustration that you put me in with these people. How am I supposed to sell this? Well, as you just said, I'm not really bothered about Berlanga. And it's really tough to see that people aren't bothered so much about you. And, you really can't sell it unless there's a really exciting B-side. And let's face it, Hamza Shiraz, in New York City is not a great B-side. So.
No, and there it is, another B of boxing. I mean, they just come out of the woodwork at this point, Listen, Steve, thank you for all the hard work that you do on promoting boxing, promoting the fine music stuff that you do. Absolutely. And the fact that you are out there hobnobbing with the youngins, all right? You're still keeping up with the Joneses, it seems like. Good for you, brother.
I mean, at my age, you know,
yeah. Are we gonna throw a Black Sabbath show for you eventually?
I think there should be. I think there should be a Steve Swift memorial show. There should be a statue of me with my arse out or something like that. You'd need an awful lot of bronze, but it's worth it, Tidster. It's worth it. Now,
that's just to get the tan right.
Yeah, you've got to get the tan lines. Got to get that right. So you need different gradations of bronze. That's quite right. But never mind a Rocky. You need an arse. Da-da-da, it's my arse. Anyway, not the first time I've sung that. The band I want to tell you about. I mean, I went to a festival this weekend, as you know, and Friday night was my night, and I like to go to this festival because it's a local festival. And I've been there for the last, it's got to be 15 years, 10 years or so. So the band who were headlining on Friday are a band called Doomsday Outlaw. Do have a listen. They're probably, if you could get big in music, rock music at the moment, which because of the industry you can't really, they should be huge. They're a band who I love anyway, and I saw them play a fairly small stage and thought should be 4 times as big, because you're fitted for something a lot bigger. I want to see you running between band members, not walking. So have a look at. They are a sassy, souped up blues, hard rock offer, and there's a lot of them out there, but they're one of the best from the UK at the moment.
There are so many genres of music out there now. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. Well, we're going to check it out. As always, you can check out Steve over at World Weary Guy 1 for all of that fine stuff and much more. And of course, all of your podcast providers for this right here, the Bees of Boxing, on the Law Live Audio Wrestling Network-ish adjacent type thing that we have going on. And on YouTube, that is What's a Work on YouTube, because that's the question that we always ask around here. We ask a lot of questions. We talk a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, we make 2 statements, and those 2 statements could never be more real, Steve Swift. The first one is that you have to make sure that you know Wu-Tang is for the children. And the second one is always tuck your chin. Peace.